ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Kelly and Helena.
You go first.
Thank you. Give it to Helena. Should be good.
It's my go.
Perfect.
Cool. In which case?
Awesome. Okay. So just so you know, I'm Kelly and she's Helena. So for those of you who don't know which one is which way round, let's start tonight off with some good news. Okay, everyone loves good news. We were researching this week and we found out that live events like this, it's predicted that this year they're going to go up by 1.6%. Woohoo! This is the first time this has happened in the last 8 years. So this means that live conferences like this are on the rise, which is great news for people like you because it means that speakers are back in demand. This is going to be the first year that the demand is going to be higher than the supply for professional speakers. Okay, so it's good news. You're in the right place.
Which is really quite exciting. And so my question to you, and I'm really glad that many of you have notebooks out and pens at the ready. For those of you that don't, seriously, you want to be doing something like that. But our question to you really, and our intention for the next half an hour or so, is really to say, how will you invest in that? How will you use that opportunity that's just presented itself to stand out? And we're going to help you with that.
And so as Anik said, we are the founders of Speaker Insight. And so we help speakers, authors and coaches to run a business on your terms. And you'll hear that quite a lot. And I know some of you are in our Connection Hub, so you hear us say it nearly all the time.
Hi, this is us live.
This is what we look like. So just to give you a little bit of background about why we set the company up and who we are and why we've got anything to share with you tonight. So my background is I used to have a publishing house. I currently have a speaker agency called Stellar Speakers, so I manage professional speakers, and I have a marketing consultant company for speakers, authors and coaches.
Excellent. And whilst the Apple ID is doing its best to distract you, Helena Holrick, and I too have a different company. My company is called Helping You Shine, and I come from a training background. Training, franchising, anything to do with delivery, that's really what I did. I started teaching people to build sandcastles when I was 4. So basically, after that, I opened 17 TGI Fridays.
Thanks,
I set up a coaching and mentoring department at the London Fire Brigade, and I spent 7 years at Noel Edmonds' video conferencing business. So you kind of have a bit of a eclectic thing going on. Not crinkly bottom, no. More slightly serious than that, teaching people how to communicate, funnily enough. So I'm all about how do you shape, structure and systemize businesses, because actually I love people being educated and developed. And actually there are so many amazing people, talented people out in the world who need to do that. But they need a bit of structure, don't they, Kelly? That's how we got together.
Our number one value is structure. Okay, so what we want to make sure this evening is that we allow you to stand out as a speaker. And we're going to cover 3 elements in the half an hour. There are lots. We want to cover the 3 main aspects of how to do that. And just to let you know our style, we are teachers more than speakers. So we do some speaking, but that's not our profession.
Really
You'll know that we do a lot of training. So do take notes, because that's how we like to actually put our presentations across.
Yeah.
So the first point, and any of you that are in the Connection Hub know that we talk about avatar all the time.
A lot.
Right? This is the first part to stand out. And just hearing some of your introductions you did earlier about what topics and areas that you speak on, let's come back to that, because if I went in a conference room of lots of speakers and they said they were a mindset coach, you and hundreds of thousands of other mindset coaches. So we really want you to know who your avatar is. That's the key point. Can you click onto my next slide?
I will.
Thank you. So what we mean by that is, as an audience,
Bless you.
we want you to basically focus on you, not as me as a speaker. Because sometimes when you're speaking for the first time, you have a bit of that imposter syndrome and you're a bit like, oh, some of the people that are speaking later might be feeling that right now. If you focus on serving, if I know how to serve you and my content is relevant to you, the audience is already engaged, right? That's what we want them to think about, is it's actually all about your audience. Niching, however, is important. So going back to the mindset coaches in the room, if somebody came to me as a speaker agent to be managed and they said they were a mindset coach, I'd want you to niche. It might be that you work with entrepreneurs who have mental health problems. That's the area of mindset that you work in. It might be you're a productivity coach or a performance coach for certain individuals. You really need to understand that your avatar goes, she gets me. She understands specifically where I'm at the moment. So I want you to introduce yourself as that person that helps that specific avatar. This is the topic that I talk about. This is the area that I'm about. That person then will immediately connect with you because it's all about the audience engagement. I'm not used to not having my clicker.
I know. She's not in control. Trust
like,
me, she's freaking out on the inside because I've got the thing.
No, it is, isn't it? My hands are tied. So many of you probably have heard this before. It's not what you say, it's how you make your audience feel. It's the emotional connection. So if I stood up here and told you my story and told you lots of facts, yes, it would be interesting, but you probably wouldn't remember me. The people that you were talking about earlier that were memorable to you, it was maybe their style. Somebody said about Joanna Martin's style. It was the way that that comedian basically brought everything together and just fascinated you with the stories. Stories are a great way of connecting emotionally to your audience. Even if you are like the gentleman at the back who I spoke to who talks about medical and tech, you're like, how can I tell a story about that? You can, right? Your personal story, how you got into the field, what the medical industry is going to look like in 10 years' time. You paint that picture. That's the story you tell. So this is all about the engagement side of things. But the important to have the emotional connection with somebody is language. You have to know your avatar, use the same language as them. So one, you connect, and two, you don't reject or repel them either. There are some things that turn people off. Let me show of hands, actually. How many people have been to a personal development seminar conference and the speaker has sworn and it's offended you? Hands up. So 2% of the room, maybe. And that's roughly actually about what it is for swearing. So again, it depends. If you're in that audience where you're going to offend somebody by swearing, you have to know that. But let's talk more about the emotional side of things. This is really important with marketing and copy. Let me do this example. Stand up if you've ever felt tired.
I'm standing.
We're all London-based, right? We're literally tired.
Yeah.
Okay. Stay standing. No. Stay standing if you've ever been too tired to cook yourself a meal at night. So you've gone hungry. Stay standing if you have. Yeah, or had a liquid dinner instead.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Or no, sandwich is eating. You can sit. It doesn't need to be steak. Stay standing if your muscles in your body constantly ache through fatigue. Stay standing. Are you standing, Nick? Oh, wow. Okay, normally I have to go at least a couple of questions down. Okay. So other questions that I would ask there is normally things about, well, the last one is, have you ever been hospitalized by tiredness, by chronic fatigue? Okay. Because there are some people where you all stood up when I said tired. Mm-hmm. You all sat down when I mentioned about the muscles in my body really aching because you've not been at that stage. So when I was 25, I was diagnosed with ME. I identify with being hospitalised through chronic fatigue. And for me and a lot of other ME sufferers, what you hear a lot is, oh yeah, I feel tired a lot of the time. That's like a stab in the back to someone with ME, because ME is the extreme version of tiredness that most people haven't experienced. So again, a language thing, that only illustrates for you to be really explicit with the language that you use to make sure that you're connecting. Because I don't want my audience, if I was a health coach for chronic fatigue or ME sufferers, and I said the word tired, you weren't my audience, but you all stood up. Okay, so really think about the detail that you go in. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So this is what I mean by this. If you just bring them all up.
Okay.
The feedback we get is, have you got surveillance cameras in my house? Because I had that conversation with my husband last night. I Googled that last week. We know our avatar so well that they think that we're in their head. We're like, that's exactly the phrase I use. How do you know that about me? And this is where the research into your avatar comes in so handy. That means you can then make your keynote presentations about them, and you'll hit a pinprick just drop. Because they'll be like, she gets me, I trust her, I want to know more. I've never heard someone talk to me at this level of empathy, understanding and trust before. You've got my attention. And this is where it's always about them. Because I'm serving you. My keynote has to have a purpose. I want to know how you're going to walk out at the end of the room today. We've designed this talk because we know the 3 key areas that we want you to know, and we've got things to do.
Because we want you to stand out.
So in this bit, it's if I stood on stage and just spoke about me and my experience and my results and blah, 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 that's not going to connect with my audience. It's got to be about them. And this is the killer. I get people apply, I get a lot of applications to be managing speakers. And what do we all do? Yeah, we check your social media. So you might come with us with the bio and the application form. I'm going to check you out. And if I see that potentially you're you're a fitness instructor, and you talk about fitness, and this is your background, and this is your mental well-being space, but 2 weeks ago you were talking about being a PR expert in your blog, I'm like, inconsistency spreads doubt. You need to be really consistent with your key messages everywhere you show up. Your keynote topics need to be consistent. They can be different areas, but they need to be with the same genre. Your blog posts, your Facebook Lives, your LinkedIn Lives. I need to know you're a specialist. I need to know you're not a jack of all trades. You haven't jumped around. Now, don't get me wrong. Your background might have been different to lead you to the point that you are today, but where you are today, you are standing strong. Yeah. You have your green flag in the sand. This is you. Does that make sense?
For those of you who don't know what the green flag in the sand is, when you get to know us a little bit better, you'll understand that even more. So, some of the keys that you actually want in order to be able to stand out are, so I'm the one that gets all the facts today, so I'm the one that's just going to talk that through. So normally geek girl over there and kind of touchy-feely over here, but no, today I get all the facts. So who here is an overnight success? Right? There's no such thing. It's an oxymoron, right? So being prepared, actually using your experience, your talents, everything that's gone before is the key to you being prepared. Why do you need to be prepared? Because you actually want to be able to, in this room, you do not know who you might meet that has an opportunity for you. You do not know whether you're standing. I have done many meetings, chance meetings with people on a train that have gotten us a gig. I am the extrovert of the two of us, I'm just letting you know that. But the point is, unless you are prepared, unless you know your information, you won't be able to make the most of those opportunities. So, let me introduce you to some of the things that you could do to be prepared, what we consider being prepared. So, the first of those kind of bits is your assets. So, by a show of hands, let's do it this way. How many of you here are really proud of the photos of you out in the social media world, on your website, on somewhere like Speaker's Base?
Professional pictures, not your
professional.
Facebook
night
out the other week.
Right. So for those of you who, so this is, by the way, so we're going to do this is what we always do. We're just going to highlight some areas that you might want to think about. What do I next need to do in order to stand out? So for those of you who don't have 2 profile shots that you really love, that really show you off in a good way, and 2 in-action shots, so something like this with backs of heads. You know, if you want to be a speaker, backs of heads is really a good indicator of that. So have you got some photos? Have you invested in the photos photos of you that you're proud of, that you can actually upload to places like Speakers Base, or what's the other one?
Speaker Hub. Two websites that you can put profiles up. They will get gigs for you, not massively high pay gigs because they're not agents, but you can have an SEO profile on there, right?
But the bookers need to actually kind of get a good sense of you. Professional photos will definitely make a good impression, and that's what you're looking to do. The next bit is your testimonials. So some of your assets are the testimonials from the work that you've actually done. Those testimonials need to be set up in a way that people can infer how good you are from them. So that doesn't mean she was great. That means
your ego,
actually the results that we got were X, Y, and Z. Numbers, stats, those types of things. I went from A to B. Those are the testimonials that speak for you. And these days, it's not just a written testimonial that you can slap on a website. It's a video testimonial. It might be an audio clip that someone can click on in some place. So testimonials that actually show you off, and yes, I'm saying be completely open and out there to going, yay, this is me, I'm amazing, right? Because the testimonials, because you don't have to do it, the testimonial does it for you. So great testimonials. What work are you doing that produces great testimonials? What questions are you asking people so that you get those great testimonials? Out of it, let me just ask, how many of you have got great testimonials that you'd love to wheel out? Okay, great. So there's some work to do for some of you in the room. Good, good, good. And I'm just highlighting, okay? So your brochure, your speaker one sheet, and your pricing. So if I say speaker one sheet, do you know what I'm talking about? Nods in the room. Anybody not? Okay, so if you think about it, it is the summary that you might present to someone of who you are, what you speak about, how you do so, the types of audiences as your avatar, and of course your pricing. For those of you, how many of you in the room are actually doing more work with corporates? You go in, you do a keynote, and then you want to do more work on the side of that?
Like coaching or consultancy.
Good. So some of you, and for how many of you is that an aspiration? Okay, good. So in order to actually have that, you need to have some form of brochure that outlines what else is available for you, so that, because it isn't just going to happen in a conversation, the more documentation you have, the easier you make it for someone to book you. That is really the key to standing out. How easy is it for us to book you? Does that make sense to everyone? So how many of you need to do a little bit of work on either a brochure, a speaker one sheet, summarizing in that way? Good, right? Big fat A, circle around it, and some work for you to do. I love a little bit of that. All right. Oh, here's a good one. Some of you are already going, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to put my hand up. How many of you have got a show reel? A demonstration. Nice one, Elliot. Good for you, my love. Good on you. So a show reel is really the 2 to 3 minute clip that gives me a snapshot of who you are. So as a booker, as someone who's potentially going to say, yes, I want Elton to be on my stage, I need to have some way of trying before I buy. I heard that. So try before you buy. Think of a show reel as that. Now, a show reel needs to have elements of you in action, actually demonstrating the results, the ROI that a company might get. It needs to highlight your style. It needs to highlight some of the people and the companies that you've worked with. It might include some of those testimonials that you've got. But really, it's a snapshot that allows a booker to go, yes, that's what I want. I'll be in touch with you. It also needs to have a, how do I get in touch with you at the end? So how many of you have got a show reel that you're proud to wheel out?
Not proud to wheel out, no.
And there it is. That is why I chose.
I'm actually in discussions with people about that right now. Not even spoken about.
But look,
Fabulous.
You're the only person, bar Elliot, that has one, right?
Exactly.
A thing. So even if you had that, you're already standing out from everyone in the room. Show reels are the things that most speakers, 5% of speakers, even some of the professional speakers I manage, only 5% have show reels.
Yeah.
This is the place to start if you want to start standing out, right?
Yeah.
For all of you.
And the picture that we've got here is actually the connection hub where a lot of the conversations go on that we deliver our
reviews on
in.
your show reels for you and give you advice.
And what's really beautiful, and this is why I don't want you to feel like bad if you go, oh, I haven't got one. There are people who are putting up version 2, version 3, version 4 because of the feedback. So this is a work in progress because you're a work in progress and you keep on going to bigger and bigger stages. So you're going to be constantly updating some of these things. Well, all of these things really. Now, your IP and your framework, this for us is one of the biggest assets that you've actually got. You two have got the beautiful, delicious speakers method. So, you saw that earlier on.
Oh.
And perfect. So with your framework, it allows you to actually say what your expertise is. It allows people to understand the journey you might take them on. It makes it very easy for people to go, yes, come and speak to us, Elaine, because you are taking them from A to B along your framework. So a framework lets you hang all sorts of products off of it. And the final thing that you definitely need is a bio that works for you. Some way of having your story written in a format that they go, yes, I understand who you are, but also you need a short version and a long version. So, Anik said this already. Yes, so I'm just going to refer to Anik's story earlier. Practice, 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 and practice some more. So I did actually work with a fantastic man called Julian Treasure. His TED Talk is the 7th most watched TED Talk, How to Speak So People Listen. It has up to today, ever. Yeah, so up until this moment, earlier on, 33,843,037 views. That is a lot of views. How many times do you think he rehearsed that in his room with a red rug on the floor? The answer is 42. His daughter Alice can actually verbatim do that TED Talk because she sat through and actually checked him on every single one of them. So in 2013, he put the work in. Practice, practice, practice. Do you get it? Right. So if you're going to stand out, put the work in. And I will say this, practice even though you haven't got a gig yet. Just practice anyway. Act as if, step into it, know your own style. I think we've sort of said a little bit about this. She's the geeky one, the logical one, the structured one. I'm sort of the more touchy-feely one. I do structure too, though.
She does much more hugging than I do, though.
I do. Oh, by the way, yeah, don't go and hug her. If you like what we've said, just come and hug me. Just give me hers. That's kind of how it works. But know your style. Own your inner geek. Own your funny. Own your flirtatious, if that is. And actually be you authentically. It will show up. And this one, I'm delighted that Daniel's actually recording this at the back because every time you do something, record yourself. Because here's the thing, your brilliance actually comes out and you didn't even know that you knew that. And it's amazing. And when you listen back, oh, and by the way, here's the thing, you might record yourself. How many of you have recorded yourselves? Okay, good. How many of you have listened to it back? Okay, good. Because sometimes people record themselves and then don't listen back, and that's mental. That's just daft. Right, so, because you will pick up the good stuff. Determine your opening. We had a choice tonight. Do we go with a stat, a fact? Do we go straight into teaching? What do we do that actually gets your attention? We figured a nice stat that says speaking's on the up and up might be pretty sexy for you. Makes sense, right? You get to choose. But you feel the tone of the room and you go, what's appropriate? And have some different ones. So that you're not always starting with the same one because it might not be appropriate for that particular audience.
Or if you're on a multi-speaker stage event and everyone's open with the same thing,
that's it.
Do something different, please.
Please, yeah. Don't be tarred with a brush because you want to stand out, right? And please get feedback. I love that you're in this room. I love that the speakers who are about to get up on stage are here, ready and open to be fed back to. So pick a safe audience or pick a wild audience, but get feedback. And be prepared to pitch yourself to your bookers. So what does that actually mean? Because so Kelly's just actually said, there's your avatar, the audience that you're speaking into, but there's also the people with the money that actually book you. Yeah. And that's important.
Everyone in this room will have 2 avatars.
You will.
The event bookers or the agents and your audience. You have 2 funnels for both, 2 messages for both.
2 databases, I promise. If you meet one of those people, opportunities are everywhere, what you actually have is you need to be able to reel off, this is who I serve, You may not use that word, but this is my avatar and this is my niche. This is the industry in which I work. You need to be able to be clear, like 172 characters tweet type clear, right? So if you haven't got that, make a note. Am I able to describe who my avatar is and what the industry is that I'm working with? The second thing is knowing how you're different from your competition. And I may get slightly on my high horse, but don't diss the competition.
No.
Please don't diss the competition. We interview a whole bunch of people, and earlier on I interviewed somebody in order to, or I spoke to someone, pre-interviewed someone, and they actually ended up dissing one of the people that we've already interviewed.
To make him look better.
You've just lost your chance. So please be kind. Know what's going on out there. Know what makes you different. But be kind. Be nice, right? So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
Out your system now.
Out of my system. It's done. It's done. Your pricing and position. You need to know your pricing. You need to know your positioning. Your positioning, if you know your worth, your positioning actually increases your worth. So the more you know who you serve and what you do, the easier it is for you to actually increase your prices. Go figure. Kind of like a
The more
infinity.
visible you get, right? So if you're like if you're a financial coach, then if you're Martin, oh my God, what's his friend? Lewis. If you're Martin Lewis, you can charge really high because you're visible, you're known, you've got credibility, you've got all these results and experience. Yeah. If you're over here and no one's ever heard of you, it's really hard to charge the same prices.
But
so
you inch your way along through getting more and more visible. So you start showing up consistently, as Kelly said, within the market that you are showing up in. So, and the final bit, because I'm going to let Kelly do a little sexy bit, is you have to be able to do results, results, results. We've said it already. The results speak for themselves. That is your return on investment. If they book you, will they get a return on investment? Because nobody actually books motivational speakers anymore. Right?
Well, corporates find it really hard. So, you know, for me to put an inspirational speaker in a corporate is hard because they go, what's the ROI? What am I going to get from that £10,000 keynote? Yeah. What's the ROI in this corporation? So you've got to know your results to be able to tell them that.
Yeah, and you're in charge.
So this is the good bit, right? This is where you go, oh my God. I hear so many people say, I'm going to put this on hold until I get an agent, until I get this best-selling book. I can't be successful. I can't charge the big bucks. I think it was you that said that, right?
Yeah,
big bucks, right?
Not little bucks, big ones.
So you are in control.
Yeah.
This day and age, you control your visibility.
Yeah.
You control your credibility. It's in your control. Okay, so we're going to talk about how you can do that and how you can take control yourself. Create the platforms for yourself. And when we're talking about platforms, it's not just stages, not just physical stages. Nina runs a podcast I learned earlier today. So it could be like podcasting could be a platform for you, or Facebook Lives. But as I said to you before, social media is so key for everybody in this room. Yeah. I don't want you to then go, oh my God, I've got to be on every single platform and be all day long on social media. When do I actually do my craft? We set up Speaker Insight 14 months ago, and we knew that our avatar, speakers, authors and coaches, were predominantly on Facebook. So we said, we're just going to build one platform on Facebook for a year.
Elliot just said, what's your Instagram?
Yeah, we don't have an Instagram yet, right? We don't do any of that stuff. In 14 months, very similar to Anique, with no spend, not just in one hand, no advertisement spend. We've got just under 4,000 members in our group, and we've actually got membership sites, everything else. So because we've stayed consistent in that place, we do a Facebook Live every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We have done since we started. So we've built this tribe of our ideal avatar. And if anyone's in our group, you'll know how awesome our members are. Yeah. But what happens as a speaker booker, especially if you're in a very niche area, if you've got a tribe around you, it shows me there's a demand for your subject. If I've never heard what you spoke about before, especially I know I'm just picking on you because we spoke at the back, but you're going into a really new field of medicine. Some people are going to be like, I've never heard of this stuff before. But if you've got a tribe of people knowing this is going to be the next thing, there's more belief there that actually there is a demand for your subject. Create opportunities to be on stage. Pick up the phone.
Yes.
Right? We give, in the Connection Hub, a directory of 200 stages to speak on. So we say that, and we go down, look at the expos, look at the places, pick up the phone. Because you've got all the assets we just told you need. Now go and pitch yourself. That's the way to get the credibility. The more stages you create, shared stages, paid stages, and stages that you get paid on, these are all at your fingertips, and you don't need to be professional speakers to access them.
No. And remember, you've got 2 avatars.
Right?
You are marketing all the time,
To
but
both.
2 different sets of people are watching you. So we want to, this is almost my recap for you so that you've actually got it. So I've got you. So known for, seen as is something that we speak about all of the time. Known for and seen as means that you are in charge of what people know you for, because you are the person out there speaking about what you speak about. So you tell them what to say. People now refer people into our group all the time because they say, well, if you're a speaker, author, or coach and you want to build a business on your terms, then you want to go into the Connection Hub. And they are literally using our language. Why? Because we literally use our language. Do you get it?
And people, that's the thing, that this is what people will say about you when you're not in the room.
They really will.
Right?
All
This is
the
the bit
time.
you want to harness. What are people saying about you when you're not in the room?
Yeah. And so the things that we've really been talking about, highlight. In order to be known for something, if you've got qualifications, let people know. If you've got experience, tell your story. If you've got testimonials that speak your story for you, use those. If you are slightly weird and geeky, use that and actually kind of let people know that you're slightly weird and geeky, or you might be fun and flirtatious or fanatical about something. Whatever it is, just use it. Do you get it? Right? Results. We cannot begin to tell you. Numbers and stats are the thing that really speak for you. So the more you use, gather your stats in. If somebody gives you a brilliant compliment, say, why are you giving me that compliment? So that you actually get the A to B transformation in there. Don't be content with you were great. Actually go up, and what made me so great? That's a great question. That's a write it downer. And what made me so great? What was it that made me stand out? Do you get it? What was it that made me stand out, so that you can replicate that? Borrowed credibility. If you've worked with some really big names, guess what? Slap it on your website if you're allowed. If you're allowed. But actually borrow credibility, because people see you've worked with Tesco's and they go, oh, you must be good, right? Because actually, why wouldn't they book you? They would book you because you must be good. So you borrow credibility. So what are the stories you can use that actually allow that to be the case? Numbers, facts, stats, names, what will help you stand out? And your USP, your unique selling point, you're at the heart of your business. So how do you make you stand out? You know you best. That's really all I'm going to say about that. And this is our final kind of parting, there's always something to do with us, always. So we've said about known for, seen as. So what do you need most to take charge of? We've probably given you a whole list of to-dos, and you're probably hating us every moment right now. But it might well be about the impression that you make. So maybe that's about, how are you actually being seen? How are you showing up? Are you being consistent? Is that the work that you need to go and do? It might be about the influence that you're actually making. So that's your known for. So are you making people think differently? Are you shaking up the industry back there, Andy? You're getting a lot of attention today. Which is good, right? Because he's standing out. There was a little conversation that happened, because impression and influence, which you're both in charge of, actually allow you, to get the impact out in the world, aka the results. So do you need to do some work on the results? Or rather, the income. And maybe this is the place you need to work on. Is it that you need to work on the impression and the influence and the way that you're shaping that up, your positioning, so that you can increase your income?
Yeah. If you're saying big bucks, right? If you're saying, I want to increase more here, I can guarantee you, you're lacking here.
Yeah, I mean, I realise that.
Right?
It's all
Yeah.
about impact.
It's the results,
Okay.
it's the proof. Prove it
Right.
to me that I can charge more.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right?
So you have some work to do in one of 4 areas, or maybe in all 4 areas. And to make that easy for you,
Yeah, so we would love you guys to come and join us in the Connection Hub if you're not already a member. The link's there, or you just put the Connection Hub as one of the groups. And our challenge to you is to come and introduce yourself, even if you've already introduced yourself. Say
We
that
like
you were
it.
here tonight.
hug me, don't hug her.
Yeah, literally. And what we want you to do is introduce yourself, and we will give you personal feedback on the impression that you made on us and how we think you can help with your pitch or your positioning, and basically give you some feedback on that. We'd love to give you something back for listening to us for half an hour.
Do a little hashtag Speaker Express.
Yes, so we know that you were here tonight.
Brilliant.
That's us.
And that's us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Helena.
Thank you.